Okay, hello there. So let me explain Cardano Mass Payments project and the output of this project. We have released this as an open source tool, and it is available on GitHub and also PyPI because it can be imported into any Python project, into any Python code as a module, and you can use it. The idea of this tool is that it can make mass payments more convenient, and it will save you on fees. The thing is that if you have a wallet, and on your wallet, on your address, you have, let's say, a couple of UTXO. That's usually it's like you do not have like hundreds of UTXOs at the same time. Because most wallets, they try to optimize UTXOs on your wallets so it can be as less as possible. For example, ADA Lite will try to keep only one UTXO on your address. And if you, let's say that you are an affiliate program service that makes payouts regularly, like weekly, to several hundreds or thousands of webmasters. And in that case, let's imagine that they decided to use ADA for payouts. If they need to make those payments, so they have a list of, let's say, 5,000 different addresses and amounts they need to send. And if they decide to do this manually, of course, this will be a lot of work and it will take a lot of time. Some wallets right now, they start offering sending multiple payments at once. That's much better. But what this tool Cardano Mass Payments offers is different, because it makes two steps. So again, let's go back and imagine that on your wallet, on your address, you have a couple of UTXOs and you need to send payments to 5,000 different addresses with different amounts. So when you do the first payment, let's say that you can fit like 500 different payouts into one transaction. Okay, so like 500 outputs, addresses and amounts. So you use UTXO that you have in your address, you create a transaction, you sign the transaction, you submit the transaction to the network, and you wait for this transaction to be included in the block so that the unspent amount of this transaction will go back to your wallet, to your address, and then you can use it for the next batch, for the next transaction to send, let's say, other 500 transactions. So this takes, again, time, because with each step you wait for the transaction to be included in the block to get the unspent amount, and also you, let's say, spend more on fees, because Cardano Mass Payments offers a different thing. So it recalculates. So you provided a list of your addresses and amounts that you need to send, and then it takes a look at UTXOs that you have in your wallet and makes several optimizations. First of all, it will split those addresses with amounts into several transactions that will be sent. It will calculate the absolutely exact amount for those transactions to be sent without any unspent amount that will be sent back to your address, and I will explain why. So let's say that sending payments to 5,000 addresses will take like 10 different transactions. So Cardano Mass Payments will take, let's say, one UTXO that you have on your address. It will calculate, it will calculate the exact numbers, the exact 10 UTXOs that you need to have to send those 5,000 payments. Then, that's the first step, it will split one UTXO that you have into, let's say, 11 UTXOs, because that will be like 10 exact, they will not be the same, they will be different, but it will be like 10 UTXOs that will be used for sending payments, and the one, if you have more on your wallet, on your address that you send, then the one that will be actually the unspent amount that will be sent back. So this first optimization step will take only one transaction. So for splitting those UTXOs into several ones, in our example, to 11 new ones. And then as the next step, it will do the same with those calculated in advance payments. It will just create those 10 transactions with the exact amounts so that no change should be sent back. So it will just fit like perfectly, and those transactions can be signed and submitted to the network at once. So if you need to do 10 different transactions, they can be submitted to the network simultaneously, and not the one and then only after it's included in the block you send the next one. So this saves you time, and because again no unspent amount will be on those transactions, you will save on fees because those transactions will be used completely. Here we have our public version. We added some few more changes. So it was released in the initial version was released by the end of May. Then we added some additional fixes. We also added stake rewards withdrawal. So those amounts on the stake rewards can be used as well for payments if they need to. And for better testing and for better usage with different networks. And right now we have a few test nets that use totally different magic numbers. We added a possibility not just to specify mainnet or testnet, but you can specify any magic numbers. You can test it on like GuildNet, on pre-production testnets, on different networks. And we have documentations how to use that, and you can install it easily. If you have a pip on your server, you can just run these commands and it will download and install everything you need to send payments. And then you can specify if you use what node to use, if it's a local node, if it's a Docker node. So we have a few options how you can connect to your node. And I think as the next part of this video, I will show you some examples of this process and how easy it is to do. I should also say that with this project, we will be using this project in our next projects as well. We will be using this tool. So for example, we have a project called Pool Boost to help small pools that do not mint any blocks to get some rewards, and other people can vote for those pools, and by that those delegators they will be also getting rewards and those pools as well, even without minting those blocks. And we will do those payouts to those pools using Cardano Mass Payments tool. So this is like adoption at our level that we will do. Okay, so let's get to the next part. Okay, as the next step, I will show the very simple installation because it's it's the Python package. So I will just install it globally. So sudo pip install Cardano Mass Payments. Okay. Okay, all done. Now I can just... I have Cardano Mass Payments generate script that I can use. So this script is used if we use CLI, and if you want just to use it as a Python library, you can use Cardano Mass Payments library in your Python code. Okay, so let me show you what I have prepared here. So I have generated a new address. I have some balance on it. I'm using the preview test network. And I also generated 10,000 different addresses with the keys and generated different amounts for them. So let's check the balance for, since it's the test network, its magic number is 2. Okay, so I have this address, I have something on the staking address, I have some on enterprise address of the same wallet, and I also have payout CSV. It's a huge file with 10k lines, so it looks like that. So I have 10,000 different addresses and random small amounts. So let's just try to send, let's say, 1,000 payments to this list from this address that I have. So first thing to do is that I do not have enough funds on my main address to send all 10,000 different payments to 10,000 addresses. I will just limit those to let's say 1,000. So for that, I will just do payouts like this, and I will create a new one, payouts. That will be like payouts 1k. Okay, all done. Before we proceed to the next step, I would like to mention that the script can include any metadata information. You can include your own JSON, or you can just include a message that will be visible in different explorers. That will be a more simple solution because you do not need to know on what slot, on what structure it has to be. So you can just create any text file. So for that, I will just, let's say, message.txt, and I will enter something like hello world Cardano mass payments here. Okay, let's save that. And as the next step, I will be making those payments. And here you are not limited to only one payment address, to only one address that you will pay ADA from. You can have multiple addresses, you can use multiple wallets, and for that you will just need to create a CSV file with the addresses that you would like to use. It can contain, of course, only one address. As for example, in this example, I have only one address with 2 UTXOs with 1,000 test ADA on them. So for that, I will just create a simple CSV file with that will contain the address, like that, and then the path to the ASCII file. It's ASCII like that, and I will create like sources.csv. Okay, so let's make it. Let's see. Okay, the address and the ASCII file that I will use. And then as the next step, I will use the Cardano mass payment generate script. So Cardano mass payment generate script, and let's start with the parameters that are listed on the GitHub and PyPy. Cardano mass payments script tool can use multiple options for the node. You can use your local node. For that, you will just set the script method host CLI, and you can also use the Docker image. You can use PyCardano as the output type. I will use bash script, and sources CSV will be the file that we just created that contains the address or multiple addresses, and then the signing keys for those. Then Source address. Okay, we have that. So we will also include, let's say, since we created a message as a txt file that we would like to include as a message to those transactions. So let's include metadata, message file. As I mentioned before, we can create a JSON file with the specific slots if we need a different structure, if we need an exact metadata that we would like to include into this transaction. But in this case, we'll just include a simple hello world message. It will be our message.txt. Let's not forget about the magic number since we're using the test network. So the magic number for this one is 2. And of course, payments CSV. And for that, I created a separate smaller one with only 1K, addresses. Okay, so let me check that. It looks good. I hope I did not misspelled any word. If not, I will just fix it. So let's click it. Okay, yeah, it says that since I did not provide a specific source address, it just uses the first one. But I can also mention if I have like 5 addresses that I will be making payments from, I can just select one, or I can use them combined. Okay, then as the next one, it generated the script that will perform everything we need to make those transactions. So let me just do it like that. Okay, so right now, this is the preparation transaction. Okay. As you can see, it just split those 1000 payments with the metadata into 3 different transactions, and they are sent simultaneously, submitted to the network. Okay, all done. Okay, so now to check that, we can use just Cardano CLI. I have copied the transactions hashes, so Cardano CLI, and then let's query UTXO. Let's not forget about the testnet magic number. That is 2. And the transaction incoming will be this one. Okay, let's start with index 0. Okay, this was the first address. Then index 1, index 2, index 3, index 4. As you can see, different amounts, and they were all sent to those different addresses. So what we did is that in just a few seconds, we sent 1000 different payouts to different addresses, and we did it the most optimal way, so we spent as less as possible on fees, and we basically submitted all those transactions at once to the network. So we did not have to do it sequentially, wait for one transaction to complete and then prepare the next one. We just prepared all of them in advance, and we submitted them to the network.